What's up, you guys? Welcome back again to your Heroclix headquarters. Today I've got a top 5 list featuring the smartest man alive, Reed Richards, aka Mr. Fantastic. So without further ado, let's get to the list. Alright, so starting us off at number 5 is one I actually currently don't have, is the Chase Reed Richards Fixer of Universes. Now this guy's coming in at 60 points. He's got a full dial of leap climb. He starts with 10 attack, 18 toughness, 2 damage with leadership. He's a title character, so he's got a starting plot points of 0. His continuity trait says that when he's KO'd, you generate a Molecule Man bystander in an opponent's starting area that's friendly to that character's force. And we'll take a look at that in just a second. But then his +1 plot point ability is free, outwit, perplex until your next turn. At the end of your turn, heal Reed Richards Fixer of Universes 1 click if he targeted one or more opposing characters with outwit or perplex this turn. So for 60 points, you know, he's got a lot of health and he's got outwit and perplex, and if he uses it, he gets to heal a click. So that kind of gets around the whole, you know, if he doesn't make an attack for being a title character, using his plot ability, he has to take a damage. Well, he can just heal it back with this. It also gives him built-in healing if he does make an attack and use the +1. He can still heal a click if he's been injured, which is, of course, always nice to have. He then also has +0. Free, if Reed Richards Fixer of Universes occupies an opponent's starting area, generate a Molecule Man bystander. So now we'll take a quick look at that bystander. So it's got a 12 range, 0 movement sidestep, 12 attack precision strike, 18 with energy shield, and 1 damage with probability control. And it says at the end of your turn, if Molecule Man is outside of a starting area, KO him. So yeah, you basically just got to keep him in your starting area as a 12 range prob controller who can at least ping people for 1 damage with the precision strike, which, you know, is not too bad. It does kind of suck to give that to your opponent if, you know, he gets KO'd, but to generate that in their starting area is pretty cool. Because then he also has a -1 plot ability that says free, if Reed Richards Fixer of Universes is adjacent to Molecule Man, roll a d6. Deal that much unavoidable damage to the lowest point character on an opponent's force you choose if there's a tie. So yeah, I like this guy. I mean, he's got leadership, he's got outwit, perplex, he's got a lot of health for 60 points. He's not really doing a whole lot other than that, unless you can actually manage to get him into your opponent's starting area, which 11 movement with leap climb, you know, it's not too hard to do, but to get there and stay there is kind of hard because, you know, your opponent might just, you know, turn around and attack him and KO him, and then they get the Molecule Man bystander. But if you can get your opponent's team locked up and get him back to their starting area, and, you know, after a few turns, maybe he can really get in a lot of damage with that free -1 ability. To just deal that much unavoidable damage as he rolled is just insane. So yeah, I think he's pretty fun for the points. A little hard to pull off, but if you do pull it off, I think it's amazing. But he's a solid and fun figure all around, so for those reasons, he's coming in at number 5. So coming in at number 4, I have the Legacy Mr. Fantastic here, who, yeah, pretty cool sculpt. He originally came in, I believe it was Galactic Guardians, maybe Chaos War, can't remember off the top of my head right now. But he, I think, got a pretty decent upgrade with this Legacy card. Now, it starts off with this trait, and I know it's kind of hard to read, so I apologize for that. But here we go. It says, when a friendly character with the Fantastic Four keyword would be KO'd, roll a d6. On a 5 through 6, turn the character to its last non-KO click. So I think that's just amazing. If you're playing him on a Fantastic Four team, obviously, it gives your entire team a potential, you know, save. If you roll a 5 or 6, just turn them to their last non-KO click. Pretty awesome if you actually manage to roll it well enough. And then he also has this, this is actually his damage power. So they messed up a few things here. This is supposed to be the damage power, leadership, outwit, but may use it twice if an opposing character is adjacent to a friendly character with a Fantastic Four keyword. So yeah, if you get somebody adjacent like the Thing or somebody up there next to that opposing character, then you can outwit them twice. He also has leadership, so that's helpful. Then his special attack power says power, giant reach 10, make a close attack.
Gotta love a 10 square giant reach. That's just too fun and so perfect. I wish there was more Mr. Fantastics that had like a super long giant reach. But then he also has, this is supposed to be a trait, not a defense power. He doesn't have a special defense power. So this is the other trait, unique modifier. When Mr. Fantastic heals from the Fantastic Four team ability, after resolutions, remove an action token and modify Mr. Fantastic's combat values by +1 until the end of your next turn. So great, you know, if somebody does happen to die, if his thing doesn't save them, and they have the Fantastic Four team ability, and he was hurt, you know, heal him a click, remove an action token, +1 all stats, pretty great. And then, you know, taking a look at his stats, only the real downside here is he is a whopping 130 points, but the change to the rules giving everybody essentially no more pushing damage is great because, you know, he wasn't really very good to be pushing, but leap climb to get into position for the, you know, leadership and double outwit and the 10 square range attack is pretty good. He's got some super senses, and then, you know, just get some perplex and stuff. I just think he's a really fun, really thematic Mr. Fantastic. Now, this was like one of the first legacy cards ever, so I just kind of wish that they would have knocked his point value down a little bit. You know, even if it was like 120, 110, 100 even, I think would have been great. But regardless of that, he's super fun, super accurate to me, so he's coming in at number 4. All right, coming in at number 3 is the rare Mr. Fantastic from the Fantastic Four set. Funny sculpt. I always think this dude looks like one of those barrel of monkeys. And he always gets caught on the arm of the other one because, you know, the common and uncommon had all the same sculpt in this set. And so they're literally always just like a barrel of monkeys when I pull them out, and one of them's always hooked to the other. But anyway, taking a look at what this guy can do. So starting off, he has improved movement for elevated, which is nice to have. Then he has a trait where opposing characters within 4 squares and line of fire can't begin moving except during a move action. That's super powerful, actually. If your opponent has a lot of like charge pieces or something, if you just place him within 4 of them, then they can't charge on you. They have to actually move up first, which is, you know, super annoying for them, obviously. Then he also has another trait. Friendly characters with a Fantastic Four keyword within 4 squares can use leadership. Super powerful effect, giving your basically entire team leadership if obviously you're on a Fantastic Four team, which why wouldn't you be if you're playing this one? Then yeah, I mean, it's super useful. Everybody having leadership, you know, you have pretty good odds of removing some action tokens every turn that way. And I will point out really quickly that there's a common Mr. Fantastic in the Future Foundation set that gives leadership to all sidekicks, and I think that's really good too. But that one I feel like is more dependent, you know, on the sidekicks, whereas this one, I mean, he would give it to all the sidekicks too if they're Fantastic Four keyword within 4 squares, so I think his is just generally better overall. And he also has a special damage power that gives him outwit with a range of 10, and it's also protected outwit. I do love that. I hate it when my outwit gets outwitted. I don't know, it's just really annoying. And I do love outwitting outwit, though, so they can't outwit me, or to get rid of their use of outwit so I can use whatever other power. You guys know how that is, I'm sure, the whole like outwitting outwit thing. So having that little protection there is nice, and 10 range for your outwit is great too. Now this guy comes in at 75 or 60 points. I think I prefer him at 60 just to get the leadership for everybody and the super outwit, and essentially shutting off charge, you know, making it so they have to just move action if they're within 4 of him is pretty nice. And the plasticity is great too. I do wish he had a little like giant reach or something for the Quake, would be cool. But regardless, I think he's a pretty decent close combat fighter there. You know, 3 damage with Quake, or he's got Steel Energy with Close Combat Expert, so he could still be hitting for 3 his old dial. And yeah, I just think overall he's a pretty good figure. He's a, you know, pretty good team player and everything, and team leader as well. So I like him a lot for all those reasons. He's coming in at number 3. All right, and moving right along into number 2 is the only other one on the list I don't own here, and that's the Reed Richards Alpha. Now, this dude is pretty insane. He's got the Cosmic Energy team ability, as well as the Fantastic Four team ability. He's got Phase Teleport, 10 attack with Telekinesis, 19 defense with Super Senses, and a 2 damage with Outwit. And, you know, he's got Willpower, obviously, from the Cosmic Energy, and all of that's protected Outwit, which is really annoying with the 19 super senses, I feel like. Then you also have this amazing trait that gives him leadership, and when Reed Richards Alpha uses it, give Reed Richards Alpha a number of bridge tokens equal to half the result of his roll. Free, remove 6 bridge tokens to generate a Reed Council member bystander. So, of course, you want to roll high for leadership anyway. If you do get on fire rolling those leaderships 5 or 6 every time, you're going to be able to get out one of those bystander members every other turn, which is pretty nuts. I mean, I'd say on average it'd probably take 3 turns per bystander, so I wouldn't see getting more than like 2 out in a game on average. But then he also has this other trait that says when Reed Richards Alpha generates a Reed Council member bystander, choose a standard attack or damage power and note it. Reed Richards Alpha and Reed Council member bystanders can use all powers noted in this way. So that's super huge. I would probably choose probability control right off the bat, or perplex, so you have a bunch of perplexers or a bunch of prob. But you could also choose things like penetrating blast, or close combat or range combat expert, or pulse wave, or blades, or shape change, or anything else just annoying. Like I said, I would probably go for perplex or prob first, but there's a lot of great options there. If he's right adjacent to somebody when he generates the bystander, picking poison could be amazing, because he could literally just drop the bystander, then they could both poison, and that'd be super useful as well. Oh, and of course, before I forget, taking a quick look at the bystander, it also has 4 range, 8 movement with plasticity, 10 attack with autonomous, which is great because it won't count against your action totals, 17 super senses, and 2 damage. So pretty solid little bystander there, especially since, the more you generate, the more attack or damage powers they'll be able to have, and the more crazy things they could do that way. But Reed Richards Alpha has one last trait that says, when a Reed Council member bystander is KO'd, deal Reed Richards Alpha 1 unavoidable damage, and an opponent chooses a noted power. The chosen power is no longer noted, and that power may not be used until noted again, protected pulse wave. So yeah, that's kind of annoying because, if they hit your bystander, who's a lot easier to hit than his 19 super senses, he's going to take the unavoidable. Knocking him off that first click kind of sucks. He doesn't have nearly as much utility there. But it's kind of high risk, high reward, because if you can just keep generating those bystanders, you get more and more powers to choose from. So yeah, all that for 60 points too. Just the TK leadership and outwit alone is pretty good. And then the fact that he's, pretty well defended, he's got the cosmic energy and everything on top of it. So I think overall he may actually be the best Reed Richards. There's just one more that I personally like a little bit more. So for all those reasons, he's coming in at number 2. All right, so before we get to our number 1 pick, as always, I got a few honorable mentions I want to talk about. So starting us off here, this was the first Fantastic I ever owned, and actually the only one I owned for a long, long time. I don't think I ever even played him, sadly enough. I never had enough Fantastic Four pieces because by the time I got in the game, they were not really making them anymore. So he starts with this trait that says friendly characters possessing the Fantastic Four team ability can't use that team ability. Instead, they can use the following team ability: Future Foundation TA. When a character using this team ability takes 2 or more damage from an opponent's attack, give the attacking character an action token, and after actions resolve, if you can't, deal them 1 unavoidable damage. So that's pretty much the only reason he's here. He's 90 points. I'll admit his dial's not great. I just think it's really interesting that he turns the entire Fantastic Four team ability into a whole new team ability. And it's so unique. I don't think I've ever seen another character do anything like that before. So it's just, a really, really cool thing to have. So he does start off with some plasticity, super senses, leadership, 10 attack, 2 damage, 3 range. Pretty average Mr. Fantastic stuff. Then he goes into his special damage power, which I kind of forgot about, which says that he can use Outwit and deals penetrating damage to characters that can use Outwit, and this power can't be countered, so that means that it is protected Outwit as well, which again is just something that's kind of nice to have. You get some leap, climb, combat reflexes, and then yeah, so not great stats for 90 points. I kind of wish he actually just started with the Outwit special instead of leadership, but regardless, a very fun thing to have. And then we also have the common Mr. Fantastic. So same sculpt I was talking about earlier, the kind of barrel of monkey's arms there. But yeah, then we have, we'll take a quick look at his card here. So he's got a trait that Mr. Fantastic increases his attack roll by +1, or his attack total, sorry, by +1 for each 4 in his finalized attack roll. So, you know, if you roll a couple of 4s, it's kind of like rolling a 10, which is nice. But then he also has super senses and stop, but only if there's another friendly character with a Fantastic Four keyword within 4 squares. Yeah, so the main reason I like him, actually, he's not really too amazing on his own. You know, plasticity, 11 attack, super senses, 2 damage, leadership, nothing really too crazy there. But this guy just got a team-up card in the Fantastic Four OP kits that I think makes him much more playable. So I'll put that on screen for you because I don't actually have it myself yet. But basically, if he's on a Fantastic Four theme team, it gives him Passenger 3. And I think that just really ups his playability like a ton. The fact that he is no longer just, you know, leadership and maybe a tie-up piece with the plasticity, but he can actually now carry the rest of your Fantastic Four team around is really cool, and a little thematic, gives him something to do. Now, he's not on the level of like Scarlet Witch, you know, 30-point Scarlet Witch for carrying people around, but he is pretty solid, especially with the stop click, you know, gives him some more survivability at least. And then I also want to give a quick shout out to a couple of the older Mr. Fantastic / Reed Richards from Secret Invasion. I don't have those, unfortunately, but I think they would make great legacy card figures because the Reed Richards from Secret Invasion has like a super outwit that can turn off all of their standard and special powers. And then also the Mr. Fantastic from Secret Invasion has a really cool like +2 perplex, and they do some other stuff as well, but I just think that there are some pretty cool Mr. Fantastics worth a shout out. And then one last but not least figure I do want to give an honorable mention to here is this one from Empire. I did want to put him on the list, but I don't include characters that I don't find to be, you know, normal versions of characters. And the fact that he's wearing an Iron Man suit is kind of what made me want to exclude him. But he's amazing too. He's got this cool rally die, plasticity, all attack rolls of 4. He gets a rally die, and you can remove his rally die to choose an opposing character within range and line of fire. And if you did, until your next turn, they gain immobile, which is actually really nice. He's got this cool thing that when he's given a move action, after resolutions, remove all non-debris terrain markers within range, which is great. Quake with a giant reach of 3, super awesome. He's got impervious, you know, because he's wearing the Iron Man suit. Outwit the whole dial. Some 11 movement with flight and charge. 11 attack for that special giant reach quake. And that's for 75. I think he's pretty good at 75, but also at 30, you know, you get sidestep, you still get the quake, the outwit, and you still get that awesome, you know, rally die for immobilizing stuff, and especially the move action thing to remove all terrain markers, which is great for getting rid of barrier and stuff. So those are all my honorable mentions. They're all great, but without further ado, let's get to the number 1 pick. All right, and stretching his way into the number 1 spot for me is Mr. Fantastic from the Cosmic Clash starter set. I don't know, I just really, really liked this guy when he came out. I was just like, wow, this is just like pretty much, you know, what I think of like Mr. Fantastic, right? Just kind of my definitive Mr. Fantastic. Now, maybe not quite as good as some of the others, but I think he really, you know, holds his own up there with them. And like I said, he's just like my most definitive one. So I just wanted to put him at number 1. He's got plasticity and shape change traded. And when Mr. Fantastic uses shape change after resolutions, place that D6 with that result on this card, replacing any here. Giant reach X, where X is 2 or the value of that die on this card, whichever is greater. So that's great. You know, obviously you want to roll high for that shape change, but if you do, you also get that giant reach of, you know, 4, 5, 6, whatever it may be, and that's always nice to have. Also, improved movement elevated is nice. Then he has a stop click, but only if another friendly character with the Fantastic Four keyword is on the map, and super senses. Stop and super senses, always a good combo. Then you have leadership, outwit, free, choose an opposing character of higher points within 4 squares in line of fire, and a power, standard or special, they can use. The chosen character can't use that power until your next turn. I love that. Leadership and outwit is good on its own, but a special not outwit for higher point opposing characters is amazing because you can outwit their, even if they're power cosmic, you can turn off their powers. If it's protected outwit, it doesn't matter because that's technically not outwit. So you could turn off stop clicks and things like that. And yeah, moving on to his dial, 100 or 75 points. 100's obviously better because you got the sidestep for better placement. You got giant reach, quake, super senses, shape change. You got the special outwit and leadership there. He's not quite as good for 75 because I really wish he had the sidestep here, but he still has giant reach, quake, super senses, shape change, still starts with the leadership, outwit, and everything. You do kind of want to play him at 75, so that way there's more higher point characters that he can use his special outwit on. If he's 100, obviously it's a lot harder to find a higher point character than that to use for his special outwit. But yeah, all in all, I still think he's kind of my most definitive Mr. Fantastic. I really like just everything that he can do, and just feels like Mr. Fantastic to me. So for those reasons, he's coming in at number 1.
Alright, so that does it for another top 5 list. As always, if you enjoyed it, make sure you clobber that like button. Let me know down in the comments who your favorite Mr. Fantastic figure is and who you'd like to see on a future top 5 video. And if you haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button so you don't miss any future videos. But if you'd like to help support the channel even more, you can check the links in the description for our Patreon so you can see your name here in the credits as well as some other cool stuff, so check that out. But that's going to do it for this one, so thanks again so much for watching, and until next time, this has been Heroclix Headquarters, signing off.